Hey, it's Pierre Busseau from Butophysio, and today I want to answer a question that I have had to answer many times in the past few years. I am stretching my hip flexors all the time, and I don't understand why they always come back from being tight. No matter how much I stretch, 3 days a week, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and no matter if I take a break from my sport, I'm still experiencing a lot of tightness in my hip flexors. So the first thing I want to go over is it's one version of a hip flexor stretch. I think that's an appropriate one, and I just want to go over that, over the mechanic in order for you to be able to stretch your hip flexor efficiently. So in a half kneeling position like this, the key is to, in a hip flexors, what I see a lot of people do is this. And guess what? When you do this, you're not really stretching your hip flexors. The reason why is because in order to really efficiently stretch them, you need to add a little pelvic tilt. So what we call the posterior pelvic tilt, where you're going to bring gently your belly button in and tuck your tailbone underneath you. So your pelvis rock backward like this. And just from doing this, you're going to feel a stretch in the front of your hip. And if you need more stretch than that, you can just weight shift forward while maintaining that pelvic tilt. So once again, just tipping your tailbone and shifting your weight forward, just to the point of feeling a nice stretch in the front here. And for an even better stretch, lifting that arm will do an even greater job. And you could feel that stretch from there and all the way down on the front and inner thigh. So this is a good way to stretch your hip flexors, but you might not need to stretch your hip flexor, especially if you've done it for years and are not really seeing any improvement with that. One reason for that would be if your hip flexor is compensating for something else, and generally your hip flexors, as it is somewhat part of your core, there's some controversy about that, but it's a major spine stabilizer. So your hip flexor helps stabilize your spine, and if your spine is not stable enough, it's moving too much, or if you have other segments that are stiff, you're gonna have to move more at others. What's gonna happen is your hip flexors going to compensate for that by getting tighter in order to give a little bit more stiffness to your spine and in order to support your spine. Instead of the muscle that should be doing this, some of your core muscle around your spine. So that would be the reason why you could be stretching your hip flexors for years and not really see an improvement. So if that's your case, I would advise that you see a spine specialist and a physical therapist for an assessment of what the problem is and what needs to be strengthened and how to strengthen that in order to solve that problem. Another reason why your hip flexors could be tight would be if they are weak. And sometimes all it takes to get a feeling of that feeling of stiffness and heaviness in your hip to go away is to strengthen those. I will do a post on how to strengthen your hip flexors, but really the take-home message here is you might not have to really aggressively stretch your hip flexors as you might have for some times now. You need to figure out what the reason why your hip flexors always get tight, and you might need some help for that. So comments, question, you can email me, text me, and I will answer those questions. Have a great evening, and don't stretch too hard. Bye-bye.